Well, to conclude our adventure and the vacation,
Yeah.
I'm home, and I made it home that Saturday.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It got to the point where I literally packed everything up in my hotel room and drug it out to the lobby. Checkout was 11. I talked to a very nice person at the desk. She basically said that I could probably stall a little bit if I had to about noon with no extra charge, but I left the room just in case. And then I just started to hike down to the auto mechanics around, I think probably around 10:15, and I got a call from him while I was probably 3 blocks away, and he said, "Hey, it's good news. It's the fuel injector. It's not the engine, so I don't have to worry about waiting for an engine replacement. All I had to do was take our fuel injector off our engine,
Right.
put it on this used engine that we had, and then I was good to go." And so that's pretty much what happened. He was ready to go, I think around 11:15. Picked me up at the hotel in my car. He picked me up with the test drive. We drove back to the shop. I didn't eat anything that morning. I was too nervous. I didn't eat anything on the way home.
And he got home in record time.
I got home in record time. I stopped twice for gas, and that was it. I just filled up, and away I went. The car handled great. It did really well. We're still having a few issues with the car, so we're taking that in a couple weeks. The car's AC is not working yet.
Dang it.
Something's going on there, so we're going to have an AC specialist look at it.
And we would be going through the hot spell right now.
Yep, and the car's brakes are acting up, and the car transmission is starting
slipping.
to act up. So the saga continues this summer.
Yeah.
And we're going to take care of those problems. And when I got back, just so you guys know, when I got back to the house, I think I got back on Saturday night.
Yep.
Sunday, I just kind of took a day of rest. Monday, the cistern pump for our home domestic water went out. And I mean, just,
Yep.
no power, no water.
No pressure.
No pressure. Just couldn't do it. And so I called up Backwood Solar and ran over and got a new pump like that.
And luckily they had one on a shelf.
Yeah, it took about 15 minutes to get it installed once I got back.
Yeah.
And I would say that the pump should be under warranty. I mean, it gave out in the first 6 months.
A little weird.
And we weren't even heavy using it. It's actually lighter use than what we had before on the previous pump.
Oh, yeah.
So they're making the pumps cheaper, I think. This isn't even the one I got to replace it doesn't even seem to have the same quality as the one we had before this one, and the one before that. So it's it's just the world we live in, I guess. Make it cheaper.
And then also when I came home and I went to get our dog, our Suburban started chugging something awful, and I'm like, am I going to make it to get the dog? Which was a half an hour away from home. And luckily my folks were still at the house, so our son and everything was asleep, and I made it up and back, but by a prayer. And I really didn't drive it much that weekend, so Mark had to look at that as well on Monday and see what was going on there. Luckily, we think it's a fuel
Yeah, it was the
thing,
fuel.
so that's okay.
The burb had been sitting for a few weeks in this hot weather, and it just the gas had been in there for probably about a month or two,
and we hadn't driven it.
it. The heat of the sun got in there, and you know how ethanol gas does not well if it sits more than 30 days.
Right.
So I put some fuel additive in there, some stable and some heat, and took it for a good drive and got it all mixed up and burning right.
Well, yes, and then in between that, we had a chicken get sick, and she died, and then another chicken got bumblefoot, and luckily we saved her, and she's doing good.
Yep.
So we had our little chicken hiccup there, which was kind of interesting, and amongst that, and then, a week ago...
my phone crashed.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He lost everything on the phone.
All my contacts. The one that was the scariest of it all. I mean, I'm not sure if we're cursed or blessed to get through all these things in like literally a week.
They say what about trials? Develops perseverance.
Yeah, character, I guess.
Your character, yeah.
But our son,
yeah.
I mean, praise the Lord, it was here, and the car was fixed and everything. But he developed appendicitis on the Friday
After.
I got back.
Yeah.
So literally less than a week, he developed appendicitis on Friday night. We didn't know what it was. We thought it was maybe a stomach flu in the summer or something. It was very bizarre.
Right, but he was really complaining, and
he skipped a meal, and he never skips a meal. Oh, no way.
that was major signal number 1.
Yeah, he threw up, got
That was
sick,
major signal number 2.
and he complained about a side ache.
So we called the night nurse, got her, because everything was closed, of course, by the time this is all happening, of course.
And he didn't pass the test. I'd say, what, he was about maybe 60% there on some of it.
And so the nurse was like, well, you know, it could be, it couldn't be, and da-da-da-da. So we decided to let it ride through the night.
Right.
He got up once, but he slept pretty good.
He got up better the next morning.
Yeah, that was weird.
And all of a sudden, he just went downhill fast after he got up. So it was like his body was able to rest and recuperate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the next morning, as soon as he started to get more active, his body just, his side ache was too much. He overcame it. So we took him to urgent care, not the
ER.
ER. We didn't know for sure what it was yet. We wanted to get it. I don't want to go to the ER if it's not something that's an emergency.
Yeah.
We didn't know, and so
the doc took one look at him after waiting a while and
after waiting an hour and a half to get in,
and he goes,
"Get him to the ER
now." So we got to the ER and we walked in, and the doc had already called. They already had our paperwork all ready to go. They said, "Oh, here you go. Open the door," and we were submitted in. I mean, it was like,
right.
Yeah.
And just with the amount of time that it took, they did an ultrasound on him, and if they couldn't tell from the ultrasound, they would have to take him do a CT scan.
Right.
But the ultrasound showed.
Oh my gosh, yeah. She was like, classic.
Yeah, it showed it brilliantly. It just popped out right there.
Yeah.
It had not ruptured. Praise the Lord on that.
Yeah. But they said definitely it needs to.
It needs to go. And I'm not sure if it was at that point of rupturing, but I think what happened is it gave it just enough time for it to show so that they could know definitely what it was. He didn't get into surgery until
4 o'clock, 5 o'clock.
I think 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there. We were at urgent
10.
care around 9.
Yeah.
And so here we've been in the ER all day.
But luckily they did give him, once they knew it was the appendix, they had to call in everybody, which took a long time, but they put him on pain meds, and they were able to, you know,
put him
really
on antibiotics to kind of
IV him down. Yeah, so he was doing really good by the time. So he wasn't suffering all day with major pain. You know, they assisted him that way, which was really good, and he did great. He was a trooper.
Yeah, and they moved us up to a private room.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's nobody really in the hospital much.
Yeah, we were pretty.
It was pretty mellow.
Pretty mellow because it was a weekend.
Yeah.
So Kurt got in. He was the only surgery scheduled that day.
Yeah.
Because it was the emergency. No surgeries were scheduled on weekends unless it's an emergency.
Right.
So he went in, was a total trooper, and we got that appendix out. And then they kept him overnight for observations. And then Chris and I were juggling the homestead, and Krista stayed all night with him in the hospital.
Yeah, and Mark did awesome. He went and brought me back and Kurt a kind of little care bag for the night, which was awesome. So Kurt had his little movies
and supplies.
Yeah, and we had eaten like nothing that day. And so anyway, Mark got me some little things to snack on, which was great. And of course, Kurt, he's not eating at this point.
Right,
you know, he's out.
He's done.
Yeah. But anyway, but you know, as far as having to stay the night, it could have been a whole lot worse. It was not that bad. It was all right.
So,
anyway.
I mean, if you want to talk about when it rains, it pours, I'd say probably the last week has been raining and pouring. I almost need a vacation from the last week to 2 weeks. So, and I hadn't posted anything. I posted, I was going to post another video, and I decided not to do it. And it's because, you know, when you're in the thick of it, you can see the pressure, and I think you could see the pressure on that last video. And the stress, and I was holding it together, but man, that is a test of faith.
Yeah.
It really is. This whole ordeal was a test of faith.
But you know, things fell right into place, didn't they?
Right. Well, if you look at it, it's like problem, and then here comes the solution. And then here's another problem, and here's another solution. So everything worked out. There was no major hiccups. The appendix didn't rupture. I'm slowly getting my phone back. Chris, the chicken's doing better. We lost one, but we saved another.
You know, it's all good. It all comes around.
Yeah.
I mean, God placed the right people at the right time to get it done, and it wasn't always our timing, but it was the right timing because it was the right people to get the what needed to be done.
And just seeing a lot of the people that we've come in contact with, what a bunch of people that have been full of grace and mercy with us.
And having my folks with us on the trip was great, because that was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Which we don't travel with mom and dad. So that was kind of cool at all the same time.
I thought they would never, I don't think they're ever going to travel with us again.
No, it wasn't that. But they were like, that was a great trip, even though about the engine. And it was a really good trip.
Yeah, it was.
But it was awesome. So mom and dad could at least, you know, we could continue the trip, and then also they could bring us home so that, you know, Kurt could be home and kind of be a little stable there, and we get the homestead all, you know, all the animals and everything. But
so
yeah, there you go.
All is well. We're home. We're safe. The car's getting fixed and worked on. Kurt got his Junior Ranger badge at the Theodore Roosevelt National Park.
And he's recouped really well.
Oh, he is doing
great.
Awesome.
It took what? Probably
3 days. 3 days, 2 days, and he was riding his bike. 3 days, and he was walking, you know, perfect.
Yeah.
Running and joking
And by Thursday, he goes,
no problem.
I'm not feeling anything at all.
Boy, he bounced back. Bounced back fast. Kids are amazing.